Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create AI agents. These are agents that transform raw data into actionable insights using Salesforce Agentforce. Today I'll walk you through how to build an autonomous agent that analyzes email engagement metrics, opens, clicks, bounces, and subscribes right inside Salesforce. So here we're going to start by defining the agent topics. After that, we'll go into the topics and add the necessary instructions. Next, we'll cover integrating Apex Actions for data querying and aggregation, as well as handling natural language prompts. Basically, these instructions tell the agent where to go to fetch the information it needs. And then we're going to deploy this agent inside Salesforce. This is basically like a chat option within Salesforce. Our solution will leverage the Marketing Cloud Connect object. This shows the result for each individual email. If you take a look at my screen, you can see here the individual email result. In simple terms, the individual email result shows all the outcomes of the emails sent through Marketing Cloud. Then this data gets synced back to Salesforce. So you can see who clicked, which leads received a specific email, and access everything right inside Salesforce. This is the object we'll be using along with its fields. And the type of agent we'll use is the agent for setup. For deployment, we'll use the employee agent. Next, I'll show you where to find the agent, specifically the agent for setup. To start, search for agents and then select Agentforce Agents. Now, wait for it to load. For my organization, Agentforce is already enabled. I'm not going to show you how to enable Agentforce, but it's quite simple. Just go to Einstein, then Einstein AI. Now, where is Einstein AI? Oh, not Einstein AI, sorry. I meant Einstein Setup. Go to Einstein Setup and then turn on Einstein. Once you turn this on, Agentforce will be enabled. So that's done. Now, you'll see the Agentforce setup here. We have version 1. I'm going to remove these topics. Now, this is the agent builder, the Agentforce builder. Here's where you can create your topics, add actions, and test them, all using the chat window you see on my right. We are going to create a new topic, add actions to it, and also include the instructions. Let's start by creating an action. Once we've created an action, we'll make a topic for it, add instructions, and then run the actions inside the agent. As mentioned in this section, we'll create Apex and flows. I'll start with a flow. I'll first make a simple flow, and then I'll demonstrate how to run it inside the agent. So first, we'll search for flows. Next, we'll create a new flow, but first let's check out our IR object. This is the APN mobile IR object we'll be using in the Apex classes. But now you see here the fields. So these are the fields inside the individual email result. We have the date sent, date opened, email address, email name. So let's say, for example, you want in this agent, you ask, maybe, for example, you can say, give me the mail that was sent this email address. Maybe you can say plus the date as well. And then you provide your email address, for example, test at genetrix.com, and then you click on enter, and then you should invoke the action here. So this is the flow that we're going to create here. It's a simple one that takes an email address as input and returns the date, subject line, and name of the email sent. So we're going to go to flow/create a new flow. We're going to create an auto-launched flow. We're going to choose an auto-launched flow. As mentioned earlier, we're going to create an invocable action that, when given an email address, returns the subject line, the date it was sent, and the name of the email sent to that address. First, click on this plus icon to get records. Now let's get records by email, by address, email address. The object will be IR object, individual email result object. All conditions are met. I'm going to choose the email field. Email equals to. Let's create resource here. I'm going to create a new resource, which is, let's call it a variable. Email address name. So data type will be, going to keep a text available for input. We'll just allow one value. Click on done. The data type for the resource. Enter distinct. I'm not supposed to allow. Sorry. Cancel this. So I think I'm going to delete this one and create a new one. New resource, which is a variable. Text, email address. Address name, data type is text. Available for input. Done. Now, when I come here to get my records, I'm going to choose that variable. So, and then here you can choose only the first record or a record up to specified limits. I'm going to choose all records. Automatically store fields. I think I'm going to choose fields and assign variables. So I'm going to create a collection. This one stores the result, the date results. The data type I'm using is individual email results. Once that's done, we select the fields we want to capture. Now, I'm going to choose the fields that I want. When I pass in the email address, I want to see the date it was sent. So the fields I need are the date sent, the subject line, and finally the name. That's set up now. Along with the date sent and subject line, I also want to include the name, so we have all three fields. Next, we'll create an assignment to map these record values. The fields we pulled, date sent, subject line, and name, need to be assigned so we can actually display them. Next, I'll create a new resource. I'll start with the date and set it to display the date sent. Then I'll choose the data type as date, and that's done. I'll also make it available for output so we can see it later. When we run the flow, we'll be able to see it. From the stored records, I'll pick date sent, and then I'll also add the subject line. We'll keep it simple. This one will be display subject line. And then I'll set the data type to text and make it available for output. Map to the subject line field from the stored record. For now, I'll stick with just these two fields so we can quickly see how it works. Let's go ahead and save the flow and then debug it to test the results. Let's test if it's working. I'll enter an email address. Over here in my IR object, I'll check if this test record has an email address. I'll take the email address from lead 1 to test if it works. Let's copy the email, paste it here, and run the flow. Let's check the details. Here we can see the subject line and a date sent. As you can see on the left, the subject line shows as test 1. We can also see the date set. Perfect, everything's working, so now we can go ahead and activate it. The good thing about this is that you can add as many fields as you want to display and experiment with it further. Once it's active, we'll come back to our agent and create a new topic. So we could name this topic something like email engagement, or more specifically, return subject line and date sent for a given email address. And then click on next. As you can see, this part was automatically generated by the AI. It says the agent should retrieve the subject line and date sent for a given email address, but also includes some extra text we don't really need. So we could just remove that part and replace it with using the flow action. The name of the flow action is Agentforce Flow. There are quite a few instructions listed, but basically these are the natural language prompts we'll use. For example, when the user asks for the subject line, let me start with date sent. When asked for date sent or subject line, invoke this action. The flow action is Agentforce. Click on next. Now let's search for it here if it is already here. No, it's not here, so click on finish. I remove this general CRM. Now we need to add an action to this agent. We're going to create a new flow action. It's already here. Agentforce Flow. Click next. So let's say when asked for date sent and subject line, we use this action. So this one is the loading text of setting. Then we're going to display the date sent shown in the conveyor. And then we're going to show the subject line as well. So we're going to show those two. Now we mentioned in the instruction, check the email address from the user. Now add display the date sent. In this ad, display the subject line. Check on require the input, then finish. Now I don't have any errors. Now let's move to our remember output section. Here, we'll capture the subject line that was sent to this email address along with the related details. Let me see the email address that I have here. I duplicate this tab so that we can see subject line, email address. I'm gonna refresh this one. Give me the date sent and subject line of this email address. Now you see, it replaced the date and the subject line. But the good thing, you can just say, give me date only. It's supposed to return the dates. Let's see. Subject line only. For now, that's how it works. The actions we created here are used to return the subject line and the date sent. So as I said earlier, you can go back to the flow. You can add as many fields you want to display on your flow. Yeah, so the next one we're going to move on to Apex. I'm going to show you how to create an Apex action, invoke it from this window. So the Apex action we're going to create will calculate the open rate based on a given email name. I'm going to do that and then test it out to see the difference between this one and the self or flow action version. So without further delay, I'm going to open my developer console. My developer console is here. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to create a class that calculates the open rate, since it's easier to calculate rates using Apex than using flows. So I'm going to get a new Apex class, which calculates open rate by email name. When you give the email name, it calculates the open rate of that email. Click OK. So this is the canvas. We're going to create our class. The first thing we need is the agent input. Remember, in flows, when we created the email address variable, we set it as asterisk available for input. So we're going to create an agent input and then an agent output. So this is the result that we're going to display in our conversation window. So we have the class for the agent input and the class for the agent output. Now we're going to create a function that calculates that gets the open rate based on the email name. And then we're also going to test it through this window. So first, we need to provide the input. We need the agent input. Now, this agent input is invocable, which means it can be referenced within flows. For example, our agents, we're going to make it invocable variable. I'm going to give it a label. Let's call it email name. You can add a description as well, but for now I'm going to leave it blank. Then I'm going to assign it to a public string and call it email name. Now, that's our input. Now the next we need an output. Put output as in public plus agent output. And then I'm going to make this one as well as invocable. This one I'll call answer. It's the result that we're going to display at the end. Then I'm going to store this in a variable. Let's call it answer. Then I'm going to declare this with sharing. Now we have the inputs and the outputs. Now, the next step is to create the invocable method that we're going to call in our examples. Remember, for example, in our flow here, when you click on new, get, new action, when you click on Apex, the method should appear here. You should be able to reference the Apex invocable method there. So that's what I'm going to create next in the developer console. Now I'm going to make it. There's an invocable method. So this will be the label as it appears on the agent. I'm going to name it get open rates by email name. Now I'm creating the Apex method, public static get open rates EOF name. This method will calculate the open rate based on the email name agent, which I'm keeping simple for clarity. This method will return a list of agent outputs. Now this agent will take inputs. The inputs will be a list as well. I'm going to make it a list of agent inputs. Now this is where the magic is going to happen inside our function. The first thing we need to do, first, inside our agent output, I'm creating a new list of outputs. Agent output. These outputs will store the results generated inside this method. Now I'm creating a list called outputs inside the method. This will hold our agent output. As you can see, the new outputs list is ready. To keep things simple, though not best practice, I'm putting everything inside the for loop so we can move faster. First, I'm going to loop through the inputs. Inside the inputs, I'm first checking if any value is blank. If it's blank, we prompt the end user to provide an email address. The first check here is to see if the input is blank. I'm checking input, email name. If it's blank, we handle it accordingly. If it's blank, I'll create a variable called invalid output. This invalid output will be added to the outputs list. I'm creating a variable and assigning it a new agent output. I think I should have chosen shorter names. Now this one is the method that I've created inside the agent output. I'm going to add, so I'm going to provide the end user with a different answer. So for example, I'm going to tell the user, please provide a valid email address. Now invalid output dot answer. Dot answer equals to, let's say, please provide an email name. An email name because this method also calculates open rates given email name. Now after that, we're going to add this one to our outputs that we created up here. We're going to add this invalid output to outputs. Then, okay, if the email name is not blank, we continue. If it's not blank, we'll query the individual email result objects. As I mentioned earlier, let me check the API name. So we're going to query this. Then I'm going to, let's call it email records. We're going to store this in the email records. So I'm going to select the name and opens. So in the object fields, you need to look for the APN number open. You can see this is the open because we are calculating the open rate. Now let's come back to developer console. We're going to select the opens as well. Now obviously from this, then we're going to put where clause where the name is equal to now we're going to get our email name. This is the one we're going to use. So from the input dot email name. So we're going to access the email name inside our inputs. So that is attaché column. Now, after querying, we have our name now, we have the opens as well. Now, the next thing is we're going to check if the query returned an empty. What if we get empty strings? So we're going to say we did not find the records for this email name. Let's say somebody gives a different email name that is not in our database. And the next thing is to check. Now, let's see how we can check for this. If email records is empty, we're going to take if it is empty. If it is empty, we're going to say no data output here. Now here, we're going to say no data output. So this no data output, we're going to add new variable, no data output inside there, and then equals to new agent output. Now, what answer are we going to give to the user? If no records are found, I'll inform the user. No records found for this email name. If you want, you can add the email name as well. Maybe if you want the user to see the type of input dot email name. So if that one succeeds, then we continue. Now, the next part is now we need to calculate the open rate.
First, we check if the email name is blank.
We query the email name. The email name is found. We query it. So first for the email, if email name is blank, we query the email name. The email name is found. We query it. Then we check if it is empty. So the next part is to calculate the open rate.
So the first thing is we're going to find the total emails first.
We're going to store it in an integer. Total emails. Total emails equals to email records. We're going to check for the size. So this one will return all the counts from these email records. Then from that, we're going to create a new variable for opens. We're going to check for the total opens. For now, we keep them at 0. Now we're going to look through our email records. If we find they're open, we add it to the total opens. So we're going to look through our email records. We're going to look through email records, but first we have to define the variable as IER. So we're going to look through these email records. These email records, we're going to check if IER, ET open. So we're going to check for the opens. If we find that, then we just increment the total opens, just like that. Now here we'll have our total opens. The next thing is to calculate out the open rates after getting the total opens and total emails. So we're going to store this as a decimal, the open rate now. We keep it as a decimal. Just follow the common casing. Now, if we're going to check if our total emails, this condition will give our total emails is greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, we do this. We take the total opens over the total emails times 100. Otherwise, we return a 0. Okay. We do the calculation. Otherwise, we'll just return a 0 here. So that means if the record is less than 0, we return just a 0. So get decimal, get the value total opens. So we're going to get the value of total opens divided by total emails. Just give me my total emails multiplied by 100. After getting our open rates inside our agent output now, we're going to create our result variable. Store this. So we have an agent of result inside our agent outputs with the result. Equals to new agent output. Now, what are we going to store in our answer? So with all the transfer, we're going to override it with this. We're going to display the email name. We'll display the total sends. You can choose to display only the email name and the open rate, but for me, because Apex Action gives us a more flexible way to display a lot of fields. I'm going to display the email name first, plus there. Plus
plus.
So let's see, I'm going to display the total sends as well. So the total sends, I will display them on a new line. Don't keep them continuous. So total sends. This one is the total emails. These ones that we counted here for that email name. I'm going to keep them as well on a new line. And then let's display the total opens as well. Total opens as well. Different lines. And then lastly, we have our open rate.
Open rate.
We're going to display our open rate here. This one. Then we're going to percent sign. I think because it's a decimal, we don't want to return longs after the decimal point 1, only to return 2 decimal places. So we're going to set a scale of 2. That. So now, after this, in these outputs that we initiated here, like we created here, now we're going to add our results now. Out.add, we're going to add our results. And then this function, we're going to return outputs. We're going to return outputs.
Yep.
So of course, again, Apex Action, Apex classes, you can write them in the VS Code if you want, or in the developer console. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to show you inside our developer console. So this set agent input, agent output, our method that calculates the open rate. Let me see the problems here. Open rate line 12. What's the issue with line 12? Unexpected token. Agent input.
Public.
That was going to be static is when that's supposed to come back.
Public static. List.
Agent input. Let me see if that is the issue. That one is solved. Another one is line 33.
Line 33 continue as a comma.
Invalid type agent output.
Line 12.
Line 12, agent outputs invalid type. Public static list agent output get operated by email name. List agent inputs. List agent output, outputs new list. What? Invalid type agent output. Oh, output is not spelled correctly. Output is not spelled correctly.
Line 17.
Invalid agent outputs. Okay, even this one is wrong. Agent outputs.
Okay, I see.
So that is the only thing. The spelling mistake here we did is the one that was giving us problems.
Okay, nice.
Now we have our input, we have our output, and we have an invocable method over here.
So let's see.
Let's test it out on the debug code. So to test this code, we're going to open our debug console. I'm going to use this test one. So let me see. I only have like 1, 2. Let me see this test 2. Test was. Test 2 again. Look at another test 2 that has no open. Maybe write a new test 2 here. Email name. Test 2 from name. Test 2 from address. Subject line. Test 2 subject. Can create a lead as well, but I'm not going. Let me see. Choose the date sent here. Then I have to choose a trigger event for this. Let me choose an existing one. Let me use this one.
Okay, open. I'm going to keep.
I didn't open it, so I'm going to just keep it that way.
Test 2.
So before we add our Apex 2, so let's test this on our debug window. For sake of time, I'm not going to create dummy records. I'm just going to use our actual records. Let me start with test 1 first and see the output. Now, only we can see test 1. We only want send. 1 opens and open rate is 100%. Let me just add some space over here. This space over here. And then, saving. And so I'm going to do for test 2, going to execute this one and see. Yep, so we had 3 total sends. So you can see on my left here, we had 2 opened and 1 did not open. So the true open rate is 66%. So that means our code is working fine now. Now it's time to add it. Now it's time to add it to our agent now, Apex Action. So go back to our topic. Let's create a new topic. Okay, you can add, for example, inside this topic, I can add another action, an Apex Action as well with a different instruction. But for me, let me just create a new topic. I want to have 2 topic. So this topic returns open rates. Give an email name, and then just going to remove this one and add my own. Classify. And there. Give an email name. Let me just say by invoking this Apex Action, Apex Action is which one? What was the name of the Apex Action?
Okay.
Just take it out. That's data for the email name. So yeah, gonna say
and ask for open rates for this action.
Now, let me check the name of the action.
Want to create new Apex action? So yeah, we will choose Apex.
Invocable.
So you got open rate by email name. And so this was the one who created get open rate by email name. And then, yeah. I'm just going to copy this one.
And ask for open rate.
Is this action. When they're searching or loading, you'll take an email name. And then this one is the answer. So this one, we're going to share in conversation and click on finish. So it may start from here about this Apex action.
So yeah.
And now let's start with test 1. Now we can test it. Give me open rates for email name, let's say test 1. Get open rate by email agents. Okay, couldn't find it. Could you please verify the email name? The email name listed here is test1. Now it gives the correct email name. Yeah, so you can see the email name test1, total sends, and total opens. Now let's check the email name for test 2. Yep, for test 2, we have total sends, opens, and open rates.
Let's see.
Show me only the opens and open rate. It will still show you the opens and open rate. So the best practice with Apex Action is, if possible, you should try to retrieve all the information regarding opens in a single class or function so that you don't have to repeat multiple functions. So for example, if somebody wants to check on opens, you can see the opens. Wants to check the sends, you can see the sends from one area. Now, once that is done, now the next thing is we need to deploy this agent so that we can be able to use it from this chat window. So to be able to use an agent from a chat window, you need to, let me cancel this one. You need to enable the employee agents. So I'm going to go to agents, force agents, and then I'm going to enable this one.
Agentforce default agent.
So once that is enabled, go to a version. So let's see, we have opened. So for us to use this agent, we need to use it inside the. Now when we enable the Agentforce default agent, now you can see this. Let me refresh this page. You will see this icon now. So right now there's something wrong with it. Now to be able to use it, we will need to transfer this topic. So for example, open this one, email open rate retrieval.
Inside this one, I'm going to create new topic. The same name, APN, I'm going to keep it different. Then I'm going to add description here, the scope, and then the run instruction. Now for the action, I will choose for this one, which action are we using? Get open rate by email agent. Just search it here. Get open rate by email agent. Then I'm going to add on the other topic as well. The name of the other topic, mail subject line retrieval. Flow, scope, same. Instruction, I'm going to keep it the same as well. Now, what was the action? Action is the Agentforce Flow .finish. Now for the Agentforce setup, you can create the same configuration in the Agentforce default agent if you want to skip all the other steps. But I wanted to show you how the Agentforce setup works. But for the default one as well, you can do the same steps that we did for the Agentforce setup. You get a new topic, add the actions there, and then test it out. Let's test this first. Just say, give me opened rate for this email name, test2. All right, it's working fine. So after that, we're going to activate our agent now. So it's deploying. Once it's active, then we'll come back to our home tab, refresh. Open our agent. Now you see it had an error, but now it's okay. So if you want So whatever we ask for here, you can now request directly in this interface. There's no need to go to this setup. It's completely self-service. Admin can just type here, give me the open rate for this email name. Let's say test1. And of course you can change the name here. Agentforce default if you want to change it now. So let's see. Give me open rate for this email name. Let's say test2. Yep, and then the last one we created was for email. Give me the date sent and subject line to this email address. So now you see it fetches the date and the subject line. Now from here you can add more actions. For example, in the Apex class, you can add different You can add the click rate as well if you want, the open rate, the subscribe rates, the bounce rates. You can do it inside the same function, or you can do it in different classes. Same for the flows. So thank you guys. And that's how we create an agent. That's how we add our topics. That's how we create the actions as well. You can just deploy that agent for setup today. Self-service interface. Thank you, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Bye.